Hello and welcome to the world of master plan communities. I'm your tour guide for this part of our Specialty Services Community webinar. My name is Sandi MacCalla, and this has been my focus in the association management world for the past 13 years. I'm Vice President of Large-Scale Communities for the Management Trust CDC Division in Seattle, Washington. I currently oversee, manage, and guide operations and on-site staffing for 10 master plan communities and 3 large-scale operations. Master plan communities span over other types of specialty services such as resort operations, active adult, declarant controlled, and some communities may qualify for any combination of these specialties, such as one we work with that qualifies as active adult, large scale, resort, declarant control, and master plan. Talk about complexity. I currently chair the Management Trust Special Services Committee. I'm a member of Community Associations Institute, or CAI, where I serve on the National Large Scale Managers Committee and locally on the Education Committee. I've had the honor of serving CAI as a nationally published author and an educator in the Northwest. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So to help explain this complex specialty area, I'd like to walk us through one of our smaller master plan communities here in the Northwest. As you'll see from the map, this community that is under development and declarant control will have a community core of retail shops, one of which will be Starbucks, of course, commercial owners and tenants, and a grocery store within walking distance for its residents, which is already titled Village Square. This particular site was originally a family-owned, high-quality commercial landscape and nursery supply organization. So the signature feature of this community will be its landscaping throughout the community and its parks and its arboretum. As you can see, there are many rooftops, which will include single-family homes and what are called cluster homes, or in this case, fee simple townhomes, which will have common walls shared by their owners. There is also an area designated for senior living and multifamily, which will incorporate apartment living. In the commercial sector, there could be a police substation and other municipal services like a small library branch. While this community is just off of Ward Lake, you also see small pockets of water throughout that are called kettles. These are deep hollows created by glacial movement that contain groundwater or stormwater runoff. They are not buildable areas and serve the community as natural retention ponds to filter groundwater back into the water table. This is just one example of a master plan community that most of us would see as being very similar to a small city with the association and management serving as its city governance. An MPC, as they're often referred to, can be a large-scale homeowners association, a mixed-use condominium community, or it can encompass any combination of diverse entities, such as active adults, resort operations, commercial owners, retail owners, municipal utilities, distinct amenity providers, such as a golf course, a spa, or a fitness organization, and all of this can be under declarant control. There are some key aspects that determines what is a master plan. Generally, it will be designated as master plan based on plat stipulations documented and defined by a county governing agency where multiple housing types are built to accommodate a broad demographic of residents. It may include retail and or commercial businesses within the property and will have an overarching entity that sets and governs the standards of the property or community as a whole, somewhat akin to a county's jurisdiction over city and urban or rural area residences and businesses. Normally, a master plan community will be a nonprofit corporation with its own set of CC&Rs, articles of incorporation, bylaws, and standards. However, to really qualify as a master plan community, it has to have at least one sub-association that is subordinate to the master plan governing documents and comes under the umbrella of the master plan association structure. It's not unusual for a sub-association or one of the subordinate entities to struggle with trying to divest themselves from the master plan governance and economic structure, which in essence creates double costs for items such as insurance and management, and having two governing bodies to work with, the master plan governance and the sub-association's governance. As we just saw, master plan communities may be comprised of varied housing types, condominiums, single-family detached homes or attached homes, like a townhouse for instance, cottages, carriage houses, apartments, multiplexes, and more. There may be the retail sector and or a commercial and or a light industrial sector. It may also have land dedicated for schools, churches, fire and or police substations, municipal operations like a water district, and so forth. Amenities and facilities will vary and may be similar to most large-scale community associations, such as pools, clubhouses, maintenance buildings, lakes, or gated security, for instance. Some may contain special interest amenities like equestrian facilities for horse enthusiasts, or a marina for residents' watercraft, or even possibly an airstrip for aircraft. These amenities may be owned and operated by the association, or they may be contracted out on behalf of the association. Routine maintenance is generally focused on landscaping, irrigation, community-owned buildings, parks, recreational equipment, and could include the roads in a gated community. They generally contain retention or detention ponds and bioswales, what I call landscaped ditches, which handle processing of groundwater back into the water table. In order to incorporate natural habitat, wetlands and protected natural areas may be set aside to promote wildlife and natural plant species. This may require understanding the structure and maintenance of retention and pond filtration systems, county and city ordinances and practices for wetlands, flora and fauna, and forestry stewardship. Understanding who owns what in an MPC is a major effort in determining who has the responsibility to maintain areas or specific components, who carries the liability, and who has the authority to act on them. Often management will need to fully understand the plat documents, easements, county stipulations, and the development plans, and will be best assisted by well-defined maps, sometimes even color-coded and notated for ease of identifying ownership and responsibility. The financial management of a master plan community can be simple, and it can be very diverse and complicated. What tends to drive the complexity is how the community is set up initially and how it emerges during the development phase. The more components that make up the master plan, the more complicated the budgeting and assessments will be. For instance, there may be the sharing of expenses between entities and determining an entity's actual usage of shared budget line items. Common budget line items are sub-metered utilities, where a meter may service a number of differing uses and actual water usage may be assessed to each different user. There may be prorated reserves for specific housing types. Another example is user fees for community facilities. It may require prorating the use and the expense of common areas between residential owners versus commercial owners, and so on. In large MPCs, reserves may run in the multi-millions, requiring good investment strategies and planning to assure coverage for multi-million-dollar capital assets and projects. Also, it may be necessary to group reserve components by housing type or owner type, retail, commercial, or residential, to assure visibility to members that capital components are covered. An MPC may be flexible in how it sets up staffing. It can either hire staff to run and maintain the community assets, such as landscape maintenance staff, or it can contract out with a professional landscape service to perform the work. A manager will need to know how to determine work scopes, job descriptions, and contracts, for instance, and assist the board in determining the best cost service options for the community. Some keys to successful management will require attention on good community governance and development, which is very important to assure consistency, fairness, and harmony between diverse owners and diverse interests. It needs to consider the differences, similarities, and needs of residential owners versus rental residents versus commercial owners versus retail owners versus dedicated entities like schools, churches, safety providers. Master plan communities have to address the needs of a broad spectrum of diverse parties and interests. Community development. Social activities and individual involvement can be a very high priority within an MPC to facilitate community participation, promote a civic spirit, and provide a high quality of life for its stakeholders. The community voice, the voting structure within a master plan, can be very similar to our country's political structure. There may be within the CC&R's provisions to allow for neighborhood voting representatives versus individual voting, councils for governance, social, and educational purposes. Thankfully, most do not develop into our Democratic or Republican structure, which would add yet another layer of complexity. Other similarities to U.S. politics can be the use of political campaigns for community board elections, meeting the candidates night, allowing political signage or advertising, campaign speeches, and social events, even allowing door-to-door canvassing of board candidates to solicit election support. Communications is always key in community associations, and master plan communities, due to their size, may employ some different strategies to promote communications, like cable networks, electronic distribution of information, a newspaper that rivals the local city publications, phone trees, email blasts, and so on. Many will have multiple ways of outreach to keep their membership informed and engaged. In summary, master plan communities are most like small cities or municipalities that encompass diverse interests, financial abilities, social standing, and especially today, diverse cultures, lifestyles, beliefs, and practices. In short, master plan communities are geared to be global microcosms requiring management skills that are diverse, flexible, and highly people-driven.